It seems as if no retro is safe from returning as a re-release, especially in 2025. They're putting out everything. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and breakdown on what many consider to be a grail release, or at least the original. This is the Air Jordan 14. I don't want to call them Ferrari, but like, that's what they're called, man. Not officially, not by the brand, by the internet, by the people, and for good reason, which we'll talk about soon. But the Air Jordan 14 Ferrari, originally released in 2014, it was a big departure from what we had previously seen on damn near every single other Air Jordan 14, both mid and low, where they did away with what I believe is the greatest part about most shoes, the design. They took off every single panel, they turned it into one seamless piece. I'm not a big fan of this personally. I think that this shoe needs its toe cap. It needs these side panels, especially the ribbed ones. Those ones look awesome. I love the ankle little Y bar that they put on there. Everything about the original release was not on this one, and it was super jarring for me personally, but they were also made up of rich red suede, which a lot of people just absolutely loved. It was very reminiscent of the Air Jordan 21 Italian suedes. I think that's what they were. I used to have a pair. Now, after the 2014 edition, there was a reverse Ferrari release in 2019. That one, it was interesting, you know what I mean? It kind of flipped some of the colors and stuff like that. Instead of it being predominantly red, it was predominantly yellow. Instead of being suede, it was leather. And also in 2019 saw the black Ferrari. Now, fast forward to 2025, and they're back. I mean, I personally can't believe it. I think that this is one of those releases that I never thought I'd see again. Maybe in different iterations like we did with the reverse and the black version and things like that, but not this one, at least not so soon, or it's not really soon. It was a long time ago, but it feels soon. Now the packaging is pretty standard, at least for Air Jordan 14s. They're meant to look like the originals, which we actually have right here. So this is the original package. This is the retro package. So that's what they're doing. They're paying tribute to the past. Now inside the box, the shoes are wrapped in paper, plus each individual shoe is also wrapped in paper because they don't want everything to color migrate or to bleed, which is something that they clearly state right here on this little tag. Now this release doesn't feel, not just in hand and with weight and things like that, like past releases, especially the previous one, but again, not specifically with just the overall weight and feel. It's mostly the material used. The material, like I said before, was like a really nice rich suede. It did fade over time, so a lot of people that had theirs, they would have to re-dye them, or somebody would have to re-dye them for them, or they do it themselves, who knows. But essentially the color would really fade, which is what this kind of looks like. It looks like a faded version of the original. The original was really like kind of like a deep red. It looked amazing. Again, very similar to the Italian suede Air Jordan 21s. And these just look, I don't know. They just don't look right. The outsole still looks sexy as and this is one of the coolest parts about the shoe, or actually I take that back. The entire shoe is freaking cool, especially when the panels are on it, but mostly because the shoe's design itself was inspired heavily by MJ's Ferrari, or love of Ferraris. But either way, we've got herringbone on there. This is actually a great outsole for performance. The Air Jordan 14 in general is great for performance. If you can find one that's built like really nicely and stuff, I would actually go for leather-based versions over like the suede ones. But I love the little pivot point right there. It's just bright yellow. I think it looks fantastic. I love the little accent. I also remember the shank being more almost chromey looking. Not totally chrome, but like
less matte.
Yeah, it didn't look quite as plastic. But in addition to the herringbone, we do have that giant TPU chassis right there. Some of them were actually made up of carbon fiber with specific colorways, like the white and reds, now known as the candy canes. Ooh. And moving on up, the midsole is a lightweight Phylon material. It's actually very thin, very low profile. It really allows you to sit on the floor. It's super awesome. It's just like a sports car. Like the way that Tinker took the inspiration of the actual car and things like that and put it into the product is like some next level shit. Now, in addition to the Phylon midsole, in the retro versions, there's heel and forefoot zoom air. If you wanted a visual, this is exactly the setup that is in these guys right here, right now. Unfortunately, that's not the same as the originals. The originals were, again, some next level shit. This is the chassis right here, by the way. This is the TPU. This thing, it just feels heftier than what is on these retro versions. And then the midsole itself is super thin, really low to the ground, but inside of it is original articulated zoom air in the forefoot, which is awesome. It's a 4-chambered unit. It's kind of hard to see because the flex grooves that are inside the bag are actually sealed and covered up with polyurethane. And then the heel, obviously they stuck that with the same style unit and everything. They still use these today. These forefoot units, they don't. I'm not sure why. I want to just guess that it's due to like durability issues. When you have seamed zoom units and stuff like that, or just air units in general, they tend to rip or pop. If we wanted to take a look at something similar that was fairly recent, you can look at the Nike Zoom KD9s, where they had the forefoot unit attached by a tendril to the rest of the foot, and that tendril eventually would break. Now the insole is this guy right here. This is not a piece of, this is very similar to what came in the original product. I must have put these in the box that last time I did, so they're a little mangled, but obviously the material's a little bit different. So this white material on the original is a little bit spongier feeling, whereas the black material here is a little bit more dense, but you still have the additional foam inserts, which you can see there. So you've got additional cushioning in the heel and the forefoot, and that is usually pretty standard when it comes to Air Jordan 14 Retros, so I think that is a good move. One of the things that made this shoe special is the application on the teeth itself, where they wrapped it in a carbon fiber graphic. If this would have been on the originals, we probably would have lost our minds, you know, as teenagers and seeing it as adults for the first time like we did in 2014, it was still pretty cool, but the upper for some was just not, they took the essence away from the 14, I think. But yeah, this is sick. Now, some of the coolest performance features, at least in my opinion, on the original Air Jordan 14 as well as all of the subsequent retros, includes the eye stay area. They were all hidden lacing. This was not new for this particular model. They actually introduced this within the Air Jordan line the year before with the Air Jordan 13. But the concept was, with an internal lacing system like this, not only do you get a cleaner look, but you also get a closer or tighter fit of the shoe. That way you can keep your foot on the footbed a little bit better than traditional lacing. Again, that was the concept. I don't know if it's true or not. I know that some people don't like this setup. Some people do. Just kind of depends on whatever floats your boat. The asymmetrical collar was also something that was super cool. It was introduced previously, much like the lacing system on the previous model, the Air Jordan 13. But basically you got a low top on the lateral side for overall mobility and ease of direction changes, but you still had some supportive material on the medial side on the inside, so that way you had like a snug close fit. You had something resting against your ankle, that way you felt a little bit more secure. So it gave you kind of the best of both worlds, even though both the Air Jordan 13 and the Air Jordan 14 would see actual low tops released, which were always interesting. So yeah, I always thought that was cool. Now, some of the small little Easter eggs or design elements of the Air Jordan 14 that really pay tribute to the cars that they were inspired by includes the logo that you see on the side panel, the heel panel, where it also mimics a tire and then goes down into the rest of the tread, which is your traction. Super cool. And then the small tail lights as well that you can see at the rear of the midsole. And last but definitely not least is the air scoop. That thing did blow my mind. It was not super functional, but it was still cool nonetheless. I will say that these ones, the insoles don't cover them on the inside like they did originally. But yeah, you got a little air scoop back there for some ventilation and airflow and stuff like that. So it was just a, I don't know, it was a gimmick, but it was cool as man. You just had to be there. Now, one last little, I don't know if you want to call it an Easter egg, but one last little design element that they put in the original Air Jordan 14s is the fact that there were 14 Jumpman logos between the two shoes. But that is not the case with the retros, because
there's a bonus too.
There are. Where are they?
They're on where like the size label is with the little QR code.
Exactly. And do you know where all of the additional logos are besides that?
Yes.
Where?
There's one on the emblem.
Okay.
There's one on the toe piece. Mm-hmm. There's one on the rear.
Okay.
There's one on the bottom because that's where Kara ripped mine off.
That's right.
There's one on the liner of the insole. Mm-hmm. And then now there's two more. Yeah.
You're missing two.
Oh, they're on the aglets.
And they still are there, but like she was saying, now these have the different, like the hot melt kind of like tongue labels or size labels, and they do have Jumpman on there too, so now there's two additional versus what was on there originally, which were just sewn on little things and they didn't have the logos. So fun fact, yay. Now in terms of sizing, they do fit true to size, whatever you typically wear, that's exactly what I would order. The Air Jordan 14 does need a little bit of breaking time, mostly because of the rear and everything like that. The way that it's shaped and molded will push into your heel and your Achilles a little bit. It'll also push your toes up to the front of the shoe. Some people do go up half a size to accommodate for that because they don't want to deal with the breaking process. But once you do, you'll kind of wish that you did go true to size. So true to size is what I would recommend for most. And if you are interested in grabbing a pair and you happen to live in the Sacramento or Elk Grove area, make sure that you hit up Phenom. They are going to be carrying these. Make sure that you follow them over on Instagram, simply at Phenom Global. That is where they announce their launch stuff. So whether they're doing an in-store raffle, an online raffle, first come, first serve, in-store first, leftovers online, yada, yada, yada. Now, with that being said, what is today's user-submitted question of the day?
What was your favorite comic, sci-fi, or fantasy movie or TV show face-off? I'm struggling between Dumbledore versus Voldemort or Yoda versus Count Dooku.
Oh, that was cool, I will say. Like that, I just,
Okay.
for some reason, my mind went back to the other question about
Gorillas?
No, watching movies for the first time.
Oh, yeah,
Or like
yeah.
watching a specific movie for the first time.
Yeah.
And I remember watching Yoda walk in. Like,
And just go.
well, he
Oh, very slow and
yeah,
old
he walked
first.
in mad slow. He looked like me getting out of bed. You know what I mean? And like I was just like, damn, what's this? Like, what's about to happen out of nowhere? I didn't even know he could do that. So yeah, it was super cool. And if I remember correctly, the theater went. The one, and I know that you're gonna roll your eyes, but like I just got, it is my favorite. It's the one that still gives me chills.
Is a Ninja Turtles.
It is, man. Sure it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you don't even see it. It's the music that they have when all of the people, like with Casey and Splinter and all that stuff, after they like rescue him from the little hideout of the bad guys. But like it's when they walk up to the street or whatever, and like you can hear them on the rooftops, and they're getting their asses whooped by one dude.
Looks like your boys are gonna need a little, Where you go?
But they really need to find their dad.
This guy knows where Splinter is.
Like it just gets me every time. I'm just like, man, this movie's so good. Yeah, that one lives in my mind rent-free almost 24/7. There are some other like really cool moments though. I love Cap versus Tony. I said this before too, but I don't love either of those characters in the comics. Like not at all, not even close. I don't even really like them in the comics. Like they're just kind of whatever for me. But in the MCU, like the Marvel films, them two are like the heart and soul of like what they built, obviously. It was like the one line where he's just like, yo, he's my friend. And like, he was like,
So was I.
what else is there? Oh, Spider-Man versus Doc Ock. Spider-Man at the end of Spider-Man 1 fighting Green Goblin. Very good, especially after he gets the wall. But anyways, what about you guys? What is your favorite movie face-off? That was the question? Not the movie.
It's supposed to be. There are parameters.
Did you tell me the parameters, or did I just go off?
You just naturally fall. It was a nerdy.
Okay.
So like you
didn't
fine.
you didn't give me the
No,
parameters?
I
or
gave it to you. What was your favorite comic or sci-fi
Oh.
or fantasy movie or TV show face-off?
Mine all counted.
I know. So
Oh, so face-off.
face-off.
That's
Well,
it's
it's
not
sci-fi.
It is.
It's
not.
It's scientific for the time.
Are you sure? I think sci-fi is like space.
I feel like it's science-y and it was in the 90s. Like,
I don't think so.
I feel like
I'm
he
gonna-
had to go undercover, take some other man's face,
Yo, that's
and
crazy.
become him.
I know, but is that sci-fi or is that
I feel like
is that like
And then the other guy realizes,
James Bond?
took my face, so now you're gonna give me his face? Like, come on.
Dude, that movie's crazy. But what about you guys? What is your favorite face-off? But it does, I guess, have the parameters of comic book sci-fi,
Yeah, it's not
fantasy.
It's not a realistic.
It's not an action thriller. Either way, if it's not like a comic book genre, but you do have like something else that you do think is worth noting, let me know, because I'd need to know anyways. I just would be curious. And sound off below and let us know what you think about the Air Jordan 14 Ferrari for 2025. Do you think that this is as good as the original? Do you think it's not quite as good as the original? Or are you just happy to have them back, and so you couldn't care less one way or the other? That is the right phrase, right? Couldn't care less? Or is it could care less?
You could care less.
So I f***ed up?
Everybody messes that one up.
Okay, I'll take that.
It's a commonly missaid phrase
Great.
because you could not.
Which is couldn't
Yeah, you couldn't,
care any less or something.
but you could care less.
Couldn't you? Or like you? No?
Anyways,
We're moving on.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, we gotta go. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We greatly appreciate it. We'll catch y'all in the next one. So until then, you guys have a good one.